Hello, and welcome to one of my C++ tutorials where I'm going to be introducing you to for loops. But before I do, please remember to hit that like button on this video, subscribe to my channel, and share it far and wide. Without further ado, I'm going to show you how to do for loops in C++. So if you remember my previous C++ video, I went through while loops. Today we're going to do for loops. So we use for loop. When we use for loops, we will know how many times we want to loop through a block of code. So in this example, we're going to run it. And you'll find it's outputted a load of asterisks. So while I is less than or equal to 5, it's going to go in the next for loop, and while that's j is less than or equal to I, they're going to increment, and then we will get the asterisks. So while it's less than 5, it's just going to keep going up, incrementing by 1 until we get the 5 asterisks. If we were to change that to say a 10, it's going to do 10 asterisks, like we see here. Okay, so that is an example. And now we will try out a task. I'm going to try out this task based on the prim pedagogy. So prim is predict, run, investigate, modify, make. So it involves showing examples of good working code like this. So I'm going to predict what this code is going to do. So I think it's going to output hello world 5 times. I'm going to run it and see if it's true. Yep, it's ran 5 times and it's showing the index of 1 to 4. Because 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's how computers count. We will count from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've predicted and we ran it. So I'm going to investigate and see what happens if we change the loop so the number is less than 10. I'm going to run that. And it goes from 0 to 9. I'm going to also investigate. So if we were to make the x equal to 1, so I'm going to take a look at the count. So I'm going to run that, x being equal to 1. So what's going to happen here, it's going to go from 1 to 9. So the 0's gone, so we're only outputting 9 hello worlds. Because people count from 1, computers count from 0. So I'm going to modify the program so the numbers go from 1 to 100. So let's go from 1 to 100. And what it's going to do is going to output hello world all the way up to index 99. Because computers count from 0, and the computer's 99 is going to be a human's 100. So now we're going to make a program that will output our name 50 times. So I'm going to do hello world. My name is Daniel Bullen. And I'm going to get rid of that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do end L for end line. So I'm going to run it. It's going to go from 1 to 49, which it did. And that is our modify. And that's our make as well. So what we need to do now is create a C++ program. I'll ask you to enter their name and using a for loop to display name 3 times. So what we're going to do is we're going to do for loop. So for int is equal to 0, while x is less than 3, it's going to x plus plus. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the variable called name, and I'm going to include here a string. So I'm going to do string name, cout, enter your name, and I'm going to cin name. Let's make sure the cin's done properly. So I'm going to click run, and I'm going to enter my name, outputted 3 times. That, very basic, very basic. Okay, let's say we want to write a C++ program. I'll give the square of the numbers 1 to 12. Square of 1 is 1, square of 2 is 4, 3 squared is 9, etc. So we're not going to need the string anymore, but we will need the code that will actually do the square number. So we can do include math h if we really wanted to, but you shouldn't need it. But it's always good to try things out. So we're going to have an int equals n, ask us to enter a number, and it's going to go to n. So n is whatever we've inputted. So let's say I decide to do 14. It's going to go up to 13 squared. So ask us to enter a number, cin n, and we got 4, int I is equal to 1, while I is less than n, so whatever we've inputted, we're going to increment the I, so the square is going to increment. Okay? Let's try task 4. We need to ask the user to enter a number, and the number entered will output the times table from 1 to 10. User enters 12, output's going to be all the 12 times tables from 1 to 10. So let's say we'll do number and times. So we got num and then the times, those two integer variables. We're going to enter a number, accept num, prompt for times, and then we got times. So let's say I was to do 13, and I want to go up to 12. So the times is 12, so a is equal to 1, and while times is less than or equal to 12, the a is going to increment. So if we press enter, it's going to go up to 13 times 12. So a is 1, so it starts at 1, that's why we got 13 times 1. A is less than or equal to times, so times I've done 13, and the times is 12, and that's why 12 is the biggest we've got. If I decide to do 13 times 19, however, the A is going to increment, the times is going to be 19, hence why 19 is going to be the largest. Okay? So that is how this program works. So nice basic stuff. Right, let's say now we want to write a C++ program that will find the first 10 natural numbers. So these are the natural numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So they're whole numbers. To do that, you would need int, you need the sum to be 0, and then we got integer variables, vowels, and num. Then I'm going to ask how many numbers do I want. So I'm going to do 10. So 4, so your int I is equal to 1. And then while I is less than or equal to vowels, so vowels is how many numbers I want. So I'm going to put 10. And while it's less than or equal to 10, it's going to increment up. We got the sum, which is sum plus I, so we're incrementing that to get the sum of the natural numbers, which will give us 55. Okay, so that's a nice bit of quick That's a nice task there. Let's try the next one. So now we need to write so we'll find the first. So now we need to write the program to find the sum of the first 10 natural numbers. So we need the sum, which I've done by mistake in version 2. So what I should have done, but never mind. So version 2 is where we found the sum of the first 10 natural numbers. And what I'm going to do is to find the first 10 natural numbers, which is what I should have done. So you got int sum is 0, I is equal to 1, and while I is less than or equal to 10, it's going to print out the sum of those natural numbers. And the sum of all that is going to be 55. But in this case, we don't actually need it. So we just need to run it, and that should be it. So that's all we need in this case. Okay, we don't actually need the sum in this case. Okay, let's try another one. So we've done those two. Difference is I've done those backwards. Okay, so next one we need to write a program in C++ to find the prime numbers within a range. So start at 1, end at 100, and these are the prime numbers. So the total number of prime numbers between 1 and 100 is 25. So, outputting that. So what we need is int start num, end num. So that's what we need. Then we need if found, and then if int found is 0 and int count is 0. Then we're going to cout, enter the starting number, and then we're going to cin start num. And then we're going to copy and paste the cout and cin, and we're going to have end num. So this one's going to be the ending number. That's the first thing there. So now we want a for loop. So we have got a for loop where I is the start num, and whilst I is less than or equal to the end num, we're going to square root, and then we're going to nest it. So it's got j is equal to 2, while j is less than or equal to the square root of I, j is going to increment. Then we've got I modulus j is equal to 0. Then we're going to increment up. And then if it's found, it's going to give us the prime numbers, and the count's going to be 0. Come out of the if, but in the for loop, the count's going to be 0, and hence we're going to output the prime in the range. Okay? One of the things we will need is the math h, because that is one of the functions. That's one of the include. That's going to allow us, supposed to allow us to do the square root. So if we were to press run, and I'm going to do 100. The total prime numbers between that range, there's 25 prime numbers there. Okay? So you can see that this is quite a little bit more involved than you would think. Doesn't look involved, but when you get into all the different parts of the code, it is involved. So what the code is, we've gone into the for loop, looking for the starting number and the ending number. Then it goes into the loop, tries to find the square roots of I, and if its modulus is equal to 0, the count will increment, and if the count is 0 and the I is not equal to 1, there's the prime number. So it's going to increment the number of found numbers, and it's going to show the prime numbers. And then the count's going to be equal to 0. Come out of the if, count to 0. And we've outputted the total number between the start to the end, and the found number is 25 found numbers. Okay? And that is everything on here. Now, we can also do nested for loops. So I'm going to copy this whole code in, because you need to copy it and run it, which is exactly what we're going to do. So I'm going to click run. And this is what it's done. So it's done all the zeros, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then that's going up in 2s, and then 3s, then 4s, 5, 6, 7s, 8s, 9s, and a 10. So that's what the code is doing. This is going in a for loop, finding a row is row is less than or equal to 10. Row is going to increment. Then we go into the loop. So whilst column is 0, column is less than or equal to the row, the column's going to increment. So you've got row times a column, hence why you've got the outputs. Why you've got, as you go down, you've got all of the square numbers. All those numbers on the ends, or the last numbers in each row, they're the square numbers. Okay. Now we need to use the code in that task as a template and write a program that will generate this very pattern. So what we can do, if we really wanted to, we can just generate an asterisk. Is that going to be true though? Yes, we can generate an asterisk. So that's one bit there. So we generated that code. Asterisk out of that. So we've generated the asterisk. So now we need to use a code in that task as a template that will generate this pattern going down as well. So the way we can do that is another for loop. Which looks a little bit like this. So for row of 0 is to 10. Whilst row is less than or equal to 10, row is going to increment. And then we go into the for loop again. 10. The column is 10. So while column is greater than or equal to row, the column is going to decrement because you've got the minus minus. But there's nothing stopping us from trying it. So let's run that and give that one a whirl, shall we? Yes, it's going to take its time, I know. And we are done. So that we have managed to generate that shape out of doing that to get the lower half of the pattern. Okay, let's say we want to now write a program that uses loops to allow the user to enter a list of 10 positive integer values before displaying the sum and the average. So the program should ensure that should the user enter a non-positive integer, numbers disregarded. So we use a for loop to keep track of the numbers being entered and a while loop to check the erroneous input. This looks like an interesting one. So how are we going to do that one? Let's have a look. Let's have a look at this example code. So what we can do we can do int I, sum is 0, average, and value. So int I is equal to 0, I is less than 10, and the I is going to increment while I is less than 10. So I'm going to enter a positive integer. But while the value is less than 0, so I'm going to enter -1, -2, but I want -1. It's less than 0, so a positive number, I could enter 0. I'm going to enter another positive integer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12. So that has taken me up to 48. And then divide up by, then average is sum divided by 10. So 48 dividing that by 10, averaging that out to 4. Okay, but let's try another one. 10, 12, 14, 11, 12, 14, 18, 17, 14, 16. So go 138, and we are dividing that by 10. So the average is going to be 13. So that is how we do. So that is how we do this task. Okay? We've just got 2 more to go, and then we will be done with the for loops. So let's have a look and see what needs doing now. We need to write a program that uses nested for loops to produce the output 1 to 8, new line 2 to 9, and then 3 to 10, 4 to 11, 5 to 12, etc. So that looks quite a bit involved. So let's have a look and see how this one works. And nope, that's not going to be it. So a new line. So that's what we need. I know it was there. So we've got, so that's just doing all the square numbers again. So that is not actually right. So in a task like that, 23, so you need to write a program using nested for loops to produce the output of 1 to 8, 2 to 9, 3 to 10, so it's got to have 8 numbers. So it's got to have 8 numbers there. And the problem is it's not showing that. So what we will need something like that instead. So that's the backwards one. And this is meant to be the forward. So that's the next one. So we've got int A, B, C, D, E, and I. So in that one, you need for I is 0. While I is less than 5, I is going to increment. And then we've got 4. So a is equal to 1, so a ties back up to here. While a is less than 9, a is going to increment. I'm going to see out I plus a. So the I is 0, a is the 1, so I plus a, so it's 0 plus 1. Hence, we've got 1 to 8, 2 to 9, 3 to 10, 4 to 11, 5 to 12. What if I decide to do, change that to 10, and put that to 20, for instance? So we got 1 going to 19, 2 going to 20, 3 going to 21, 4 going to 22, 5 going to 23, etc. It's because of 0, add the 1. So it's the first number, so they're all adding up each time. Okay? And that is that task. So now, the last one, we're going to write a program that uses nested loops to go from 8 to 1, 9 to 2. So it's what we did before, but it's going backwards this time. It's going backwards. So we will still need the a to I variables. I is 0, while I is less than 5, I is going to increment, and then for a is going to be 8 because that's the start. While a is greater than 0, the a is going to increment. But you're still going to have a plus I, because I is 0, a is 8. So 0 plus 8 is 8, 1 plus 8 is 9, 2 plus 8 is 10, and so on. But as you go in the rows, it's still decrementing there. Okay? And let's see what more for loops tasks we have. Do while loops, I could do that in another video. That's for a separate video. For loops is what the main focus of this video is about. And that is all of the tasks in for loops in C++ that I've made. And some of them I've actually tutored through. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please remember to hit that like button on this video, subscribe to my channel, and share this channel far and wide. And if you want to support me even further, please consider donating to me on my Buy a Coffee. And thank you very much for watching this video, and I look forward to making the next one for you shortly. Goodbye for now.